Good evening, beloved children. Oh, the beautiful, vast regions of space, all connecting right here in the one heart and the one mind of what we call our Zarina consciousness. This beautiful communion of light and love, integrity, and knowledge. Times like this, we are given to notice how old we are in our interactions one with each other, that we have been engaged with one another in some form or some fashion, really for eons. It really cannot be measured how long we have been interacting. And you know, beloveds, we are just one little manifestation of a soul cluster. There are so many, millions upon billions, galaxies, whole universes in which there are clusters of light beings who have been dancing in each other's energy for eons. And it is a beautiful thing when you look across the universe and you see these beautiful clusters of soul energies, and you can feel and hear them. You can hear their music. It used to be called music of the spheres. Well, it's really the orchestration of all these vibrations, of all these soul clusters, these little families of light that have been learning and growing together for eons. And to know that our group, our Zarina consciousness, can be seen from other soul groups from across the universe, to know that right now, on the other side of the universe, there is a soul cluster, a little group, noticing us, looking all the way across the universe and gazing at us with wonder and curiosity. Look at that little cluster of light, they're saying. Isn't it interesting how they have been intelligently growing together in common union, one with each other? And of course, in the knowing that they are having that moment and that we are having the moment of looking across this universe and beyond and seeing so many clusters of souls, it isn't that far of a leap to know that we truly are one soul cluster. We truly are one heart, one mind. We truly are vibrating as one loving family. Whether we choose to inhabit mineral form or plant form or the form of water or air on this planet, whatever form we inhabit, we are a part of this incredible heart, this soul, this light, this one mind of this entire universe, and of course, beyond. We were with your channel when she had her experience of incredible peace, of the divine feminine coming in and as and around and through. And we understood that it would be important to follow through on that experience with you and with the others that would be listening to this. And so automatically we are given to understand that the channel's dear friend and the one she calls her uncle, Emmanuel, is here, and he is asking for audience. Of course, we will step aside. and give permission, we step aside, and our dear Master Teacher Emmanuel is here. Good evening, darling rainbow beings. Of course I'm here. I have been pressed into service because I recognize what is happening here with all of you. Let's start with our dear Reverend Violet and what you were able to do, dear one, in that moment of moving circumstance from the third dimension into the fourth dimension. Of course, I think you already know that it had the spiritual equivalency of what happened to your friend, this channel, when her dog got her paw caught in the trap, and I came in and said everything in reality is God, even the teeth in a trap, and she was able to release her dog from the trap with no injury to the dog. And this was a life-changing event. You, dear one, dear Reverend Violet, took that entire lesson one step farther by consciously moving your entire being, as well as the vehicle that you were traveling in, and all of the energies surrounding you, by consciously alchemizing the entire event and reminding yourself that everything in reality is God, even the crash of metal upon metal, even that feeling, the sound that is in a car crash. The divine is there as well. And so you did what you have trained yourself to do. You turned to peace. And in that turning to peace, you brought a healing for yourself, for the witnesses, for the driver of the car that hit you, and really for the whole planet. And so we are grateful not only to Reverend Violet, but for many others like her. I'm in a position to know, and of course not just me, but the many that I keep company with, we are in a position to know that a similar happening was taking place all over your dear planet. Different kinds of situations, different occasions, different circumstance, but in each and every one of these, from Zimbabwe up to Ukraine, down in Morocco, over in France, in Beijing and in Australia, in the Philippines, in the Arctic Circle, in the heart of the jungle of the Amazon in South America, on the North Pole and on the South Pole, all over your dear planet, there were events that were similar to Reverend Violet's, where a human being eased themselves into the reality, into the knowing that everything is peace, and in doing so, alchemized the circumstance and broke the bond of fear and prejudice and anger, and a massive healing took place on your planet on Monday. Reverend Violet's healing was an enormous part of that. When your channel described her experience of walking and feeling the divine feminine coming in and birthing this new maleness, a maleness that is free from all toxicity, a maleness that is bound to leap forward and build a world that is resourceful, that makes room for all. When it became clear to your channel that the download was, of course, not just for her, but for the entire planet, I was bearing witness to that moment because I am her master teacher and am always close by. And while she was not able to hear me in the moment, she hears me now, saying that this also was happening all over your dear planet, all over your dear planet. Human beings were transfixed by the knowing that the divine feminine is indeed blossoming and giving birth, and that each and every one of you are the divine feminine, and that each and every one of you are birthing the Christ. Now the word ascension has come in, and I'm going to step aside and allow somebody else to talk about what this ascension means, and what you can do to help yourself feel and know that you are a part of an ascending planet, an ascending consciousness. But I need to bring in one of my favorite experts on ascension. I am going to step aside and allow my dear friend, Chief White Buffalo, to come forward and speak. And I've asked your Zarina, may we do so? May we change positions? And she has said yes. And so I will step aside and allow Chief White Buffalo to come forward. Good evening. Ascension is a vibration. It is what is felt in the center of your being when you understand and know and trust that you are aligned with all that is whole and all that is true. In my time and in my walk, we called it the good red road, a way of walking on the planet with assurance, a way of walking that is stable and balanced and true, a way of walking that is peaceful and organized always along the footsteps of peace. You have heard the words or the phrase spiritually engineered, and I would like to say that we are all spiritually engineered to ascend along the pathway of peace. We cannot help but ascend. It is in our nature, because we are all spirals, because we are what you call the Fibonacci sequence, and I would simply call the good red road. We cannot help but ascend. When we allow ourselves to know this truth and to feel it in the depth of our hearts, then our hearts do become a vibrating drum. The heartbeat of the universe is felt within the very canvas of our individual being, and each and every being, whether the being is a rock person or a tree person, or a person with wings or 4 legs, or a person with fins, or a person that moves like a river, or a person that moves like an ocean, or a person that moves gently like a mountain. Wherever this soul personhood is, and of course, you are such soul people, all of you, when this is felt deep in your heart, and when the canvas of your being, along with every tree and rock and winged one and swimming one and leaping one and swiftly moving one, when you feel it in tandem with every single aspect of the universe, begins what in your terminology you may call ascension, a sense of vibrating with the entirety of the whole universe. And as you do so, there is a feeling of rising up. We all rise together. One of the words that I hear you use often, and you like to use apparently, is the word inclusion. Well, ascension is what happens when everyone and everything is included. When wholeness is no longer just a point of view, but wholeness is the entire point of view. And wholeness is the point of being. And this is what is happening now. So many of you are peering underneath the rock and finding a living light where light appeared not to be. The living rock is circumstance. So many of you are learning, are you not, how to turn that rock over and see light. Nothing but light and harmony, peace, true justice, compassion, kindness. In my lifetime, I called it the good red road. But it is not just red, of course. It is a road of many colors and many dimensions, many sounds and many waters. And it is coming now. In my time and in my stories and in my legends, we had many stories of women dressed in white who came with great wisdom. They often brought prophecy of a time to come. In the space that I am in now, I am given to understand that we are all buffalo changing woman, that we are all this woman who brings forward the new birth. This also is ascension. This also is our truth. And I am grateful to be a part of this pattern with you. Aho. This is your group Souls Arena. We are so grateful to Master Teacher Emmanuel and Chief White Buffalo for coming in. We do have somebody else who is standing here. We're going to allow him to introduce himself. We're going to step aside as he comes forward. Ladies, 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 good evening. I'm so happy to be here. I will use the name Jason. You can call me Jason, that's just fine. I was just showing your channel a group of grapes on the vine. I was talking to her about harvest time and what happens spiritually when the grapes are crushed and softened and moved in such a way so that a beautiful, verdant, fertile wine comes forth. I am Jason, and in my time I was an alchemist. And I became an alchemist by studying the ways of working with wine and grapes and harvest and the making of wine, and how fermentation happened, and how to grow the grapes and where to grow them and how to pick them and when to pick them and how to store them. I learned so much in the many times that I returned to the vineyard. Oh, probably 25 or 30 times, you see, I spent in the vineyard studying fermentation, studying the alchemy of wine. And along the way, I became adopted by a lovely and dear Franciscan who had me understanding that what I was really studying was the spiritual concept of alchemy, of moving emotion of water into that fine substance of spiritual understanding, of wholeness, or wine. Yes, of course, you heard the story where Master Teacher Yeshua did the same thing, changed water into wine. Now, I didn't change water into wine, I changed grapes into wine, but over time, I came to understand that my emotions were changing, that I was changing the water of my emotions into something much finer, a spiritual wine. And when I made that discovery, I saw how easy it was to forget transgressions. You see, I had been a person who held a grudge and held a lot of bitterness and was angry for being criticized or barked at for this and that. It's like I never could forget that person down the road who once made fun of me or poked fun because I was wearing a hat that they thought was silly. And I carried that for years. And finally, the wine taught me how to release that which is no longer necessary, how to release the toxicity, and how to become wine. Well, now I am complete wine. Wine is what I am. I am the wine of understanding in my current energy. I tell you, beloveds, I cannot remember ever holding any remorse or regret or bitterness. I cannot remember what it feels like. It's completely gone. The water wheel of my progression has been such that I have turned my water, my emotions, into a beautiful, fine, eternal wine. A wine that lifts the spirit and proves that we are all, each and every one of us, like a beautiful ripe grape ready to be harvested, ready to be moved into our next form, ready to be in service, this in service of love for one and all. I've been asked to come forward and speak because I know that for many of you on this earth plane right now, it can feel as though your spirits are being crushed. It can feel so disappointing. Every now and then, when I journey down to the earth plane and I hear what my earthling cousins are saying, even though I haven't been on the planet for a very long time, but I like to come back and I like to listen. And what I hear people saying is, this is so depressing. My spirits are being crushed. I don't know how to move forward. It's like I'm being crushed. And I want to say to all of you that that crushing is part of the giant manifestation of the wine that you are becoming, the alchemy of spirit that is happening. Well, I understand how it feels to have a crushed spirit, because mine was crushed many times on the earth plane. But there was a moment when I was holding a grape in my hand and I crushed it. And as I did so, I saw that beautiful red juice move across my palm. And I brought it to my lips and I licked it, and it was so sweet and so compelling. And I understood, oh my gosh, I am that same grape. I am ripe for harvest. I am being crushed to become whole and holy wine. I believe that the winemaking is something that is happening on this dear planet in many, many, many ways. Well, it's not literally wine anymore, you understand. But what it is alchemized emotion. Emotion that has been alchemized and lifted and purified and become a whole other substance. A substance that allows this entire planet to ascend. Well, thank you for sharing my story about winemaking and what it feels like to be alchemized and to be an alchemizer. And I lift my glass to all of you and I say, cheers. It's your group Souls Arena. We are grateful for Jason. We have another group that is ready to come in. We just heard them announced. So let us step aside as they bring themselves forward. Good evening. We are a collective. We are a bundle of feminine energy. And in other times and in other centuries, we have been called the sirens, a feminine sound that moved across the water. And as the story goes, lured men to their certain death. We are spoken of in Greek mythology, but there were many belief systems that believed somehow that the feminine voice was a dangerous voice, and it would lure people to certain death or put them in the way of great danger. The voice of the feminine was something to be ignored at the very least, trampled at the very most, discouraged on a good day, and throttled on a bad day. We are the collective of the siren, and over time, we were turned into the monster under the bed, the boogeyman, the entity, the dark entity that would come for you when you least expected it. We have been turned into all of these negative signposts, and yet we are never, and we have never been, and we never will be anything negative. We are positive darkness. We are the womb where life is growing. We are the very center of the divine feminine. And we are here to let you know that the boogeyman has been alchemized. The dark entity is alchemized. That scary creature waiting for you under the bed has been alchemized, because we, formerly known as the sirens, now come forward as holy wisdom. Holy wisdom is here, and holy wisdom is done with the boogeyman, and done with tolerating being called the boogeyman. For many centuries, we allowed humanity to disguise us and talk about us in the negative, because we understood that humanity was not yet adult enough to understand the power of divine feminine, the power of fertile darkness, the power of a beautiful womb within light is born. Humanity wasn't ready for a very long time, and humanity is ready now. The download that your channel experienced of divine feminine energy was indeed felt by every least twig, every tiny grain of stand, and the farthest galaxy from your galaxy that you can possibly imagine. The divine feminine has an echo that moves through and across all universes, and the divine feminine is speaking now. Because the divine feminine is speaking, and because there is the appearance of great darkness, the divine feminine is taking great pains to alchemize every single so-called dark occurrence into the birthing of great light. All of your wars, all of the feeling of destruction on your planet, all of the towers that are toppling, all of the institutions that are failing, all of the weather systems that are feeling so frightening and out of control. These are the very places, these are the very energies that open the space for the divine feminine to speak. For when all else fails, we want our mother, don't we? We want our mother. And mother is here. And mother is here. We, as this divine collective, we are aware that your Lady Nada is waiting, and we are turning to her energy and inviting her forward. Your Serena has allowed us to do so. We withdraw and allow Lady Nada to come forward. Good evening, dear ones. It's so nice to be with you. It's lovely to be invited in on a regular basis. This is one of my homes, you know. I have lots of places on your planet that I call home, but this place, this group, is one of my homes. I have been observing also the movement of the divine feminine across your planet. And I have been observing your incredible sensitivity, all of you, to the movement of energy in this planet. You remember, of course, don't you, the princess and the pea, and how she felt underneath 7 mattresses, that tiny little pea, how divinely sensitive she was. All of you are that princess and that pea. You are feeling something under what I will call the 7 mattresses, your 7 chakras, and the arc of completion. You are feeling what is the birth of a brand new universe in that little pea underneath the 7 mattresses. See this with me now. See before us in this beautiful Zoom circle, and those of you who are listening later, come on in and see it with us. See before us the 7 mattresses, and see underneath the 7 mattresses a tiny little pea. As we gaze upon these 7 mattresses, we are given to knowing that these 7 mattresses represent completion for a chapter of humanity on the earth plane. And now I invite each and every one of you to understand and feel and know that you are lying on top of 7 mattresses. And underneath you is a very tiny pea, a small, tiny little bean, a tiny little grain of energy. Yet lie upon your mattress now and understand that your divine restlessness is because you are divinely sensitive. You are privy to knowing that there is an energy way down deep inside, an energy resting underneath what I would like to call your completion of a certain chapter on planet Earth. You might want to call it the completion of the patriarchy. That's fair. You could certainly call it that. You might call it the completion of dictatorship, the completion of authoritarianism, the completion of bigotry, the ending of any kind of might making right. This is what you are each lying on top of. Now, let's feel into these levels one by one. It is legitimate to start with the level of the crown chakra and feel there the opportunity to feed upon new thoughts that have nothing to do with vengeance or anger. And it is appropriate as you move to your next mattress, what you might call your 3rd eye, and to know that it is appropriate to have perception about what a new world might look like. As you move into your 3rd mattress, what you might call your throat chakra, it is appropriate to know that it is your voice that creates change on this planet, that you are causing and bringing and birthing significant change with the words that you choose to say, as well as the words you choose not to say. And now we move into your fourth mattress, or the heart chakra. And here you are aware that it is appropriate to feel the goodness of all living things, the knowing that certainly we are one heart and one mind. And now we move into your next chakra, what you call your third, but we're calling your fifth mattress, what you call your solar plexus. And here we know that it is appropriate to understand that the rules of engagement on planet Earth are changing. It is no longer fight or flight or freeze or fawn. The rules of engagement now are love and be loved. And this is your fifth mattress. And now we move into what you call your second chakra, and we are calling your sixth mattress. And here it is appropriate to understand that the engagement of your creativity has become multi-dimensional, that you are receiving downloads from across the universe, and you are able to birth and give birth to planets and sons and daughters and songs and paintings and seedlings and new forms of life that you hereto had never imagined. It is appropriate to know this on this mattress. And now you have come to your seventh mattress, or what you would also call your first chakra. And here it is appropriate to know that you are grounded in the deep knowing that the firmament of your being is based on a living trust, and that your feet have incredible understanding, and that you are able, with this very ground of your being, to shift the energies of this planet, to shift this ground that you stand upon right now. And now we come to that tiny little pea, that little grain of sand, that tiny energy beneath the seven mattresses. And here you are able to pick it up with your hands and hold it. And you notice that it is the very expansion of light moving through your seven mattresses, breaking through the artifice of illusion, allowing you to know that indeed, a chapter has completed, that indeed you are giving birth to a new universe, that indeed this is the beginning, that indeed you are saying, let there be light, and indeed there is light. This is what is true. This is more than a meditation, my dear ones. This is your journey and my journey. It is Master Teacher Emmanuel's journey and White Eagle's journey and Jason's journey. It is the journey of all sentient beings. It is the journey of that energy that watches and yet will not say his or her name. that energy is also now feeling into this beautiful completion and coming to that sense, what we all often call a divine arousal. Divine arousal is when all the corners of our divine heart come together, intermingle, find ourselves at one with each other, and create new life with the loving understanding is that this is what we do, chapter after chapter, cycle after cycle, conclusion after conclusion. Dear ones, you have moved through this meditation so beautifully. I would like you now to hold that seed of consciousness and understand that when you allow yourself to shift and move back into third dimension, that what has taken place in you cannot be undone. The movement in you, which has ascended you and moved you forward, cannot be undone, nor can it be undone anywhere on your planet. Be not dismayed by headlines or appearance. This is all the cracking apart of the egg as the new life comes forward. And dear ones, we are the birthers of this new life. I cannot begin to tell you how much I love you, how well known you are to me, how many times I stay in the fringes of your energy and hope that you know that I am always paying attention, and hope that you know that I am your champion, and hope that you know that I am listening, that I am here, of course, along with all of the other energies that guide and watch and coach your beautiful selves. I'm going to step aside and I'm going to ask your beautiful Zarina to now navigate you forward. Dear ones, it has been such a pleasure. Allow me to step aside. This is your group soul, Zarina. We are very delighted to have been taken on this journey by our precious Lady Nada. And now it is our task to remind us all that indeed we do have beautiful feet and that we can wiggle our toes, that we do have beautiful hands and that we can feel them, our fingers moving back and forth. It is our task to remind us, for we are you, that we do have beautiful shoulders and we do have beautiful necks and a beautiful head, that we do have a beautiful relationship with gravity, that we have promised ourselves that we would be married to physical form in a loving, compassionate way. And so now it is time, dear ones, for us to honor the marriage of our being, to remember we love our physical bodies. We are married to our physical bodies. We are compassionate with our physical bodies. We radiate in our physical bodies. And we are ready now to be this loving life within and as the physicality that we are. And to say, hello, 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 and namaste.